On my wedding day, I found a secret letter that changed everything. The day was perfect. The sun streamed through the stained glass windows of the old church, illuminating the hundreds of smiling faces gathered to witness my happiness. I was in my dream tuxedo, holding a small book of vows, about to walk down the aisle to marry the woman I loved, Eliza, 30. Everything was exactly as I had always imagined, a fairy tale come true. But fairy tales, I would soon discover, often hide the darkest secrets. My name is Julian, I am 28, and this is the story of how, on my wedding day, a single, secret letter shattered my perfect world and rewrote my entire destiny. The morning started like any other wedding morning, a whirlwind of excitement, nerves, and celebratory Scotch toasts. My groomsmen, led by my boisterous best friend, Leo, 28, buzzed around me in a flurry of tie adjustments and nervous laughter. My dad, Robert, 55, was misty-eyed as he helped me with my cufflinks, reminiscing about his own wedding day. Everything felt right, destined, beautiful. My tuxedo was a custom-made midnight blue masterpiece. It was a classic cut, with delicate silk lapels. It had been my grandfather's dream, even more than mine, to see me wear something truly special. He had passed away a few years ago, but I felt his presence strongly that day. As I was putting a boutonniere on my lapel, one of the groomsmen, Mark, 27, noticed something unusual. "Hey, Julian," he said, his brow furrowed, "what's this?" He pointed to a small, almost invisible pocket sewn into the inner lining of the tuxedo jacket, near the hem. I had never noticed it before. The jacket had been custom-made by renowned tailor, Mr. Alistair, 60, but this detail seemed oddly out of place, almost like an afterthought, or a secret. Curiosity piqued, I carefully unstitched the tiny seam with a pocket knife. Inside, folded neatly and tucked away, was a small, aged envelope. It wasn't fancy, just plain cream paper, sealed with a single, faded wax seal. My name, Julian, was written on the front in elegant, looping script that felt strangely familiar, yet I couldn't place it. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled out a single sheet of paper. "What is it?" Leo asked, leaning over my shoulder, his voice hushed with anticipation. The energy in the room, moments before filled with joyful chatter, had instantly shifted to an eerie silence. I unfolded the letter. The paper was thin, almost translucent with age, and the ink had faded slightly. The handwriting was the same elegant script as on the envelope. And then I read the first line. My blood ran cold. The words seemed to jump off the page and punch me in the gut. "My dearest Julian, if you are reading this, it means you are about to embark on the most important journey of your life. And it means I am no longer here to tell you this in person. This secret, held for 28 years, belongs to you." I looked up from the letter, my eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and dread. 28 years. That was exactly my age. A secret. What secret? My mom, Eleanor, 55, sensing the sudden shift in my demeanor, approached me cautiously. "Julian, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Mom," I whispered, my voice barely audible, "this letter, it says it's been a secret for 28 years. She looked at the letter, then at me, her face paling. A strange, knowing look flickered in her eyes, a look I had never seen before. A look of fear. Who is it from?" she asked, her voice tight with an emotion I couldn't identify. I continued to read, my heart hammering against my ribs. "I am your father, not Robert, who raised you with such love, but your birth father. My name is Elias." The world tilted, my breath hitched in my throat. I read the line again, and again, trying to make sense of the words. Your birth father, not Robert. It was impossible. Robert was my father, the man who raised me, who comforted me, who loved me. My entire life, he had been my father. This had to be a cruel joke, a mistake. I looked at Robert, who was now staring at the letter in my hand with an expression of pure terror, his face ashen. "Dad," I asked, my voice cracking, "what is this? What does it mean?" Tears welled in his eyes, and he shook his head, unable to speak. The silence in the room was deafening. My groomsmen exchanged bewildered glances. Leo stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. I kept reading, desperate for answers. "I loved your mother, Eleanor, more than anything. But I was young, foolish, and deeply flawed. I made a terrible mistake, one that cost me the right to be your father. I left before you were born, believing I was doing the right thing by leaving her to find happiness with a better man. I arranged for you to be raised by Robert. He is a good man, and I knew he would give you everything you deserved. My only condition was that you would never know the truth, until this day. I worked for Mr. Alistair years ago, before I left. I asked him, as a trusted friend, to secretly add this pocket to a jacket he knew you would wear on your wedding day, a symbol of the man I hoped you would become. I know this news will be a shock, perhaps even a betrayal, but please know, my son, that every decision I made was out of love and self-sacrifice. I have watched you from afar, proud of the man you have become. My greatest hope is that you find happiness and forgiveness in your heart. With all my love, always, Elias." The letter slipped from my numb fingers, fluttering to the floor. I stared at Robert, my real dad, his face now a mask of overwhelming grief and guilt. My aunt was my birth mother, and my mom, the woman I knew as my mom, had kept this secret for my entire life. The perfect wedding day, the perfect fairy tale, had just turned into a cruel, devastating lie. "Is this true?" I choked out, my voice raw with unshed tears. "Is it true, Dad?" Robert sank into a nearby chair, his body trembling. "Yes," he managed, his voice broken. "It's true, Julian. Elias, he was my best friend. My younger brother. He died a few years ago. He made me promise. He made us both promise you'd only know today. The revelation was too much. My uncle was my birth father. And my dad, the man I knew as my dad, had kept this secret for my entire life. The woman I had always trusted implicitly. The man who taught me how to throw a baseball. The man who walked me through my first heartbreak. What would you do in that situation? On the most important day of your life, to discover such a profound, life-altering secret? Would you still go through with the ceremony? My world spun. Eliza, my fiancée. She was waiting for me. Down the aisle. Was she in on this secret too? No, that was impossible. Robert and Eleanor wouldn't have done that. But the thought, the doubt, was already there, a poisonous seed planted in my mind. Leo, always the practical one, picked up the letter. He read it quickly, his eyes widening. Julian, he said, his voice gentle, this is a lot. We don't have to do this right now. We can postpone the wedding. Postpone the wedding, the hundreds of guests waiting, the expensive venue, the meticulously planned reception. The shame of it all. But how could I walk down that aisle, smiling and pretending everything was perfect, when my entire identity had just been ripped apart? My dad, Robert, came to me, reaching out to touch my arm. I recoiled instinctively. The raw pain of his deception was too fresh, too sharp. Julian, please, he sobbed, let me explain. I never meant to hurt you. I loved you from the moment you were born. Elias, he was so young, so broken. He made us promise. It was his dying wish. His words were meant to comfort, but they only fueled my confusion. Love, betrayal, secrets. On my wedding day, it was a cruel irony. I looked at myself in the mirror. The handsome groom, ready for his happy ending. But the reflection stared back, a stranger with haunted eyes. The perfect tuxedo, once a symbol of joy, now felt like a cage, a container for decades of lies. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to think. I gently pushed past my groomsmen, walked out of the dressing room, and found a quiet corner in the church's ancient courtyard. The cool air on my face did little to calm the storm raging inside me. Eliza, she deserved to know. She deserved a husband who wasn't a walking, breathing question mark. But how do you tell your fiancé, moments before you say, I do, that you just found out your father isn't your father, and your uncle was your birth father who kept you a secret your whole life? The truth was, I loved Eliza. Deeply. Our relationship was built on trust, honesty, and shared dreams. She was kind, understanding, and my rock. But this was bigger than us. This was about my identity, my past, my entire understanding of who I was. I closed my eyes, picturing Elias. My birth father. He had loved me. He had watched me. A phantom connection, a ghost of a paternal bond I never knew existed. And Robert, my dad, who raised me, who sacrificed for me, who kept this profound secret. The man I had always trusted implicitly. I sat there for what felt like an eternity, the church bells chiming in the distance, a mocking soundtrack to my internal turmoil. My heart ached with a pain I had never known. The anger was there, simmering beneath the surface, but so was a strange sense of empathy for Elias, for the impossible choice he had faced. And for Robert and Eleanor, who had lived with this secret, protecting me, for so long. Eventually, Leo found me. He sat beside me, not saying a word, just offering his silent, steadfast presence. After a long moment, I looked at him. I don't know what to do, Leo. You don't have to do anything right now, Julian, he said, his voice gentle. Just breathe, and then decide what's right for you. His words cut through the noise. What was right for me? Not for the guests, not for the wedding, not even for Eliza in that immediate moment, but for me. I stood up, took a deep breath, and walked back into the church. I knew what I had to do. It wasn't the easy choice, or the convenient choice, but it was the honest choice. I found Eliza waiting in a side room, looking radiant and slightly worried. Her maid of honor, Ava, 30, was with her. Eliza's eyes lit up when she saw me, and a wave of pure love washed over me. She was my future, but my past, my true past, had just exploded into my present. I approached her, took her hand, and I looked into her eyes, my own filled with unshed tears. Eliza, I whispered, I found something. Something that changes everything. I pulled out the letter, still crumpled from my grasp. I explained, haltingly at first, then with more clarity, the contents of Elias's letter, my birth father's sacrifice, and Robert and Eleanor's heartbreaking secret. I watched her face as the shock, then confusion, then concern, washed over her. She squeezed my hand, her grip firm and reassuring. She didn't say a word, just listened, her unwavering gaze holding mine. Then, I turned to Robert and Eleanor, who had followed me, their faces etched with pain. Mom, Dad, I said, my voice trembling, I need time. I need to understand. I love you, but this is a lot. I looked at Eliza. I can't do this today. Not like this. Not until I understand who I am, and where I come from. Eliza stepped closer, putting her hands on my face. Julian, she said, her voice steady and clear, I'm marrying you. All of you, and whatever this secret is, we face it together. But you are right, we don't rush this. She turned to Ava. Go tell the father and the guests. The wedding is postponed. Eliza and I walked back into the church, and together, we explained to the hundreds of bewildered guests that the ceremony would not proceed that day. We didn't share the details, only that a profound family matter required our immediate attention. The room was silent, then filled with supportive applause. The love and understanding in that room, even from strangers, was overwhelming. Michael led me, not down the aisle, but to a side pew, where we sat, holding hands, in the quiet solitude of the church. The guests slowly filed out, their whispers fading into the distance. Only Leo, Ava, and my parents remained, watching us with a mixture of sadness and understanding. That day, I didn't get married, but I gained something far more profound, the truth. The truth about my origins, the truth about the sacrifices made for me, and the truth about who I was, stripped of the fairy tale facade. The letter had broken my perfect wedding day, but it had also opened a door to a new destiny, one built on a foundation of honesty, self-discovery, and a deeper understanding of love. The journey that followed was long and difficult. I spent months unraveling the past, learning about Elias, understanding Robert and Eleanor's choices, and piecing together the true tapestry of my life. It was painful, filled with tears and hard conversations, but it was also incredibly liberating. I wasn't just Julian anymore. I was Julian, son of Robert and Eleanor, and the beloved child of Elias. I was a man with a rich, complex, and deeply human story. Eliza stood by me every step of the way. Her unwavering support solidified our bond, proving that our love was strong enough to withstand even the most profound shocks. My wedding day was eventually rescheduled, a year later. It was a smaller, more intimate ceremony, filled with genuine emotion and a quiet understanding. There were no secrets. My parents, Robert and Eleanor, stood proudly by my side. And on my lapel, next to my boutonniere, I wore a single, tiny, golden pin, Elias's favorite memento. It was a symbol of gratitude, of remembrance, and of the profound love that had shaped my destiny. That day, I walked down the aisle, not as a perfect groom, but as a strong, complex man, ready to embrace all the messy, beautiful truths of my life. The secret letter, meant to be discovered on my wedding day, shattered my old world, but it also became the map to my truest self, and ultimately, to a far more authentic and unforgettable happy ending. What do you think? Would you have postponed your wedding? What would you have done if you discovered such a profound secret on your wedding day? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of life's unexpected turns.